Welcome to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Welcome to the program. We've got a great show in store for you today. I'm feeling
do.
just about as good as the Seattle Sounders do right now in last place in the Western Conference. No, I should say I feel better. I feel better than them. I feel about as good as the Houston Dynamo right now. That's how good I feel.
There you go.
That's how good I feel.
One,
Even though as a Revs fan saying that, I feel a little bad saying that. But no, I'm feeling good. Simon, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
You're doing good? We've got a very big show in store for you today. We'll be joined a little bit later on in the program by Canadian, international, and Western New York Flash player Adriana Leon. She'll be here in our third segment to chat about the upcoming NWSL season and reflect a little bit about how things went right and wrong for Canada at this last Women's World Cup as well. And we've got a special interview here in our first segment, which we'll get to in just a moment. And Simon is going to gloat, of course, I'm sure, about MLS Fantasy again this week as well.
Well, I can't really say gloat because I'm waiting for the bottom to fall out. This is very rare that 2 weeks in a row, not only do I stay in first place, but I scored the most points again, which was just shocking to me.
You've got a good lineup, though. You do.
Well, I feel like I do, but I must admit something. This is probably going to kill you, is that I totally forgot about my lineup this week.
Of course you did. Of course you did. That's just how it goes, you know. I made some moves as well, too. We'll visit our fantasy teams a little bit later on in the program as well, too. But we are excited to be here. We've got, as we mentioned, some great interviews coming up and some other great content as well, all MLS related and all kinds of other great things as well. But we want to take a minute to remind all of you that you can listen to Two Up Front right here on Sports Radio America, and you can also find us on Spreaker.com as well, and you can get us on demand on iTunes and iHeartRadio also.
You can find us on Facebook at Two Up Front. We're also on Twitter at Two Up Front Soccer. Of course, we have our own Twitter feeds as well, or Twitter handles, whatever they're calling them these days. He is at Baxter Colburn, and I'm at Simon Provan.
And just a programming announcement for you as well. You can now find Two Up Front effective immediately this week on Sports Radio America on Thursday nights now. We've moved a day earlier, and we've dedicated now the Thursday nights from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time for you. We're moving from our normal Friday afternoon slot to a more primetime hotspot on Thursday nights as well, a little before the MLS week gets going. That way our content is a little bit more exciting and fresh for you as well.
Yes,
so you'll get more of us on a new day, so Thursdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, so come check us out and tell your friends as well.
I want to throw a teaser out there as well, Baxter.
Please.
We have a pretty cool and exciting announcement that you'll hear on next week's show, so make sure you tune in for that.
Do I know about this announcement?
Yeah, you do.
Do I?
Yeah.
Was I in that meeting?
Well, you're not going to remember it because we talked about it at 12:30 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Your mind was on work.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Simon. Well, we've got a great interview here to kick off our show today, and you always do such a great job of introducing people.
Well,
so
thank you.
I will give the floor to you, sir.
Well, we like to have a local flavor to the show. For those of you who don't know, we are based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so we like to bring in as many Wisconsin guests as we can, along with, of course, part of our relaunch having that national guest on.
Absolutely.
But we never want to lose sight of where we are from and the great soccer that's going on in the Milwaukee area. We have with us today the head of men's programs at Milwaukee's Croatian Eagles, Mr. Alex Toth. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Baxter, for having me.
You're very welcome, Alex. So for those of I guess obviously we mentioned we have a national and a local feel. Give us the 101 on the program for our national audience that maybe might not know about this Milwaukee club.
Well, the Milwaukee Croatian Eagles have been around since 1922, so that makes us the current oldest soccer club in North America.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's a great thing that we always like to boast about.
That's fantastic. Holy cow.
So I've been with the club for 12 years, 10 as the men's majors and coach. In the last 10 years, we've done really, really well. And right now, we're expanding into the next level, which is Premier League of America.
Okay. And for those that don't know, I know we're always trying to figure out the tier system because America says we don't have a tier system. We're not, and there's no promotion,
and yet every press
relegation.
release has something to do with a tier system.
Playing in it's always in parentheses, playing in the fourth tier, the fifth tier. So if you had to put your magical tier system on the wall for us, Alex, where exactly is the league that you guys are in?
Well, I spoke to Duncan Riddle, who's the executive director of USASA, this past weekend at our annual meeting for Wisconsin Soccer Leagues, which is a local league, and we've been granted provisional status for fourth tier.
Wow, okay.
So just like NPSL and the PDL, so we are a fourth tier league.
So for those of us that don't know, why are there multiple, maybe I don't know if you know or not, why are there multiple leagues with the same tier status? Why don't we just have one big old-fashioned league at the fourth tier?
I think it's just basically, different priorities. One of the reasons Premier League of America was created actually last year as Great Lakes Premier League. It was to keep costs down. Our league is to keep costs as inexpensive as possible. Try to limit as much the travel, but still be able to play a regional schedule against top flight clubs.
So all the teams then so you have conferences, divisions?
Right.
Okay,
we have an East and West.
Okay.
So the eastern half is Michigan teams, Ohio team, and a couple from Illinois. The West is we have a team from Iowa. There's 3 teams from Wisconsin, us, Bavarians, and Madison 56ers, and then 2 teams from Minneapolis.
Wow. Okay.
So including Minnesota United Reserves, which was
okay.
That was a great pickup.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's huge.
And what's the goal of the league in regards to the types of players we'll see on the rosters?
I think there's like for us and some of the teams that have been established for a long time, we'll use a bulk of our players that play in the local leagues. And then we hope to bring back any college players that we've had that are playing. That'll be done and then once in a while we try to pick up any other college players from the local schools, from UWM, Marquette, or Madison. So, and I think the other teams, a lot of them are picking up players from different Division 1, 2, or 3 schools. So that's kind of how, because we compete all year long. The Premier League ends in end of July, but because we compete, in just finish fall, we beginning spring season, we need to make sure that the players we get are going to be there for not just the summer. We want to try to keep them around as long as possible.
Sure. And I want to make sure we throw this out there. The Croatian Eagles are having a party this Saturday.
Ooh, who doesn't love a good party?
Yes. Last year when I took a flyer on this league, not knowing what was going to happen, we started in March planning, and we just did everything on bare bones. Well, this year we put a lot of work into it, starting in October, trying to plan everything so that we can draw fans in and try to make it a much more enjoyable soccer alternative to anything else that's out there. So the big party is our kickoff party. We're going to have food. We'll have beverages from one of our sponsors, Badger Max. Players will be mingling. We'll be introducing a lot of our players to our fans. We're going to unveil our supporters group's name and logo, and then the big reveal on the new kits, which are going to be our kit sponsor is shopfutsal.com.
Okay.
And our new kits will be made by Unitas. So
that's fantastic. Wow. So it obviously seems like you guys are going in a good direction then,
right?
Because sometimes you hear that's always the struggle is to get over that first hump. But it seems like you've got good leadership and good grouping around you. So when do we actually get to see some balls kicked around for an actual game coming up then?
Well, for us, not locally, but our first game is going to be next Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, is that
friendly?
Right?
Yeah, we have friendly against FC Indiana, which is an NPSL team.
Sure.
Okay, yep.
They invited us to come down there, so it's not really a great time to do it because the next day is Easter. But
True.
I wanted that early season, kickoff, and then after that, the biggest one that will be is the 23rd of April. We'll be at home. Another friendly against Aurora Borealis Soccer Club, which is in the other division. So they're brand new, and they wanted to play as many games as possible. So we are hosting them. And then the following day, we're having a game in Burlington, Wisconsin, which is they've just become an affiliate. They're youth soccer club, affiliate of Croatian Eagles youth program, which is awesome. And so UW Whitewater, which we normally play every year as a friendly, because Scott Surprise, who's a really close friend of mine and director of coaching at Croatian Eagles on the youth side, he's also coaches at Whitewater, and then I'm also good friends with Tony Gwynn, the head coach, and they organize this game on the 24th. So
wow,
and then the real deal kicks off at the end of end of May, where we go travel for 2 games in Minneapolis. And then the big derby, we're going to promote in it, but with the Bavarians, we have a home and home with them. We host them first on June 4th, so that's our first really home game for
June 4th, the big thing to keep an eye on.
Big derby game, yeah.
Right. Well, that's the Bavarians and Croatians, as we talked about before the show. Right. Of course, I was on the Bavarians myself for 3 years. It's always been a big game.
Right.
It's always been a big game. But even at the majors level, Bavarians had won 3 in a row Open Cups, and they seem to be the champions of the area. But then just 3 years ago, if I have the dates right, Croatian Eagles were the ones to capture that trophy, the USASA Open Cup trophy.
Yeah, we won it in 2012, so that was a fantastic year because nothing went wrong, everything went right.
So for someone like you that's been around the program for quite a long time, are there moments in team history or moments in games that you've seen that stick out to you as saying, wow, this was kind of a defining or a turning point for our organization?
I think 2012, winning the national title was like the deciding point. It was definitely a defining moment because a club our size, let's face it, it's not really that exciting to be an ethnic soccer club anymore. And it was great. It was our 90th anniversary that weekend.
Oh, wow.
So we got to go back to Croatian Park with that cup, and there was a huge party that was already going on because of the Croatian Fest.
Sure.
And then we got treated
like the real party.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, again, I'm the older guy on the show, and I always like to go back to the history. I mean, it was the ethnic clubs that got the game going in this country. And it was all the way, I would say, all the way to the early 90s. It was all about the ethnic clubs.
Right.
That's who you wanted to play with. I should say at least in this area. But
even down where I'm from in Florida too, we've got all kinds
yeah.
of things like that too. All the immigrants that came over too, even still now with the Hispanics that continue to still come into, they are the driving force behind soccer down in South Florida.
So let's not mistake, we're talking a lot about this team that you're going to have in the PLA, but Croatian Eagles is a youth club.
Yes.
As well.
Right.
How many teams, how many players do you have in your total organization?
We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, between 42, 45 teams. Not completely sure exactly.
Sure.
Around 500 players. So,
excellent.
And then bringing in Burlington is another 275 players that they're affiliated with our club now, and we'll be able to provide them help coaching-wise. Some of their better players we can offer them to play on our teams that are playing in Midwest Regional League and at higher levels. So it was a great addition. But I coached in the youth for a couple, for about 4 or 5 years, and we, the days back in the days, we won a couple state cup championships with that team. So had a lot. Like Philip Surprise was on my youth team.
Wow.
And he's going to be playing for our, Premier League of America team. And he's played for Croatian Eagles since he was, like 5. So he's a true Croatian Eagle.
Wow, that's no kidding. Yeah, it's definitely come all the way through the system now. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what are some possible future goals here for the club moving forward? I know that obviously being in the league now is a very big step for you guys, and you've got this launch party coming up this coming weekend as well. Is there anything that you sit at home late at night in your favorite chair and go, one day this is what I hope we do, or I would love it if this happened, or anything like that?
Well, I think, one of the things, I personally like to see, and they're working on is, putting in a turf field. I think, I hopefully to see that in the next couple of years. I also like to see us, we have a really nice location and kind of our main field, fill it out, make it a small stadium. And who knows, because there's such a drive in Milwaukee to have some type of professional soccer.
There is, yeah.
The Milwaukee Barons have been pushing for that. Who knows that some down the road that maybe that we can be involved in bringing a USL or an NASL team, to Milwaukee. I don't think an MLS maybe, but I think USL or a NASL team is probably more likely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's more realistic at this point.
Yeah, you got to get boots on the ground first before you can talk MLS.
So we're talking a lot about the games. Are your home fields still going to be at Croatian Eagles Park, or will you be at a different location?
No, we're going to stay there. So
okay,
we're going to stay at Croatian.
And for the listeners, that is at 9140 South 76th Street in Franklin, Wisconsin.
Correct.
Is that where the party's going to be as well? We can't forget about that.
And party is from 2 to 6, and it's at our clubhouse on that location. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to stay there, Number one, we don't have to pay any facility fees, so it's a no-brainer to stay at our own place, and and we have I think a beautiful clubhouse, so it's nice to get into it's kind of old school, so I definitely am an old school guy, so
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And most importantly, there is free food and free beers. What the advertisement says.
It is.
I didn't have plans this weekend. I'd be there.
There is. So that's always a lot of hospitality when you walk into that place. So
well, that's what you want to feel, though, too. Nobody likes going to a party where it's like, oh, you're better than now, kind of a thing. It's like, hey, we're all a big family. We all love the game, and we want to see it continue to grow in the Milwaukee area.
No, exactly. And we have players from all over the place. That's we have some Hispanic players. We have a player from Senegal. We have a few Croatian players, and then we've got some professional guys like besides Philip Surprise. Andrew Wiedebach is playing with us.
Okay.
So Andrew Stone is playing with us. He played with Indian 11 a couple years ago. So, and we're hoping to coax Jason Willen out a little bit.
You can always call Simon or I off the bench too if you need us to. We've got.
Well, you can call Baxter. I'm still healing from my broken toe.
There you go. If you need a lanky striker, call me up.
Alex, thank you for coming in, talking about the Croatian Eagles, especially the PLA team. Again, folks, kickoff party where you get to meet the players and the coach at Croatian Park in Franklin, Wisconsin. There'll be free food, free beer, sponsored by Badger Max and shopfutsal.com. Any parting thoughts for us, Alex, for the listeners?
Support local soccer. It doesn't matter if it's us, Bavarians, or any other teams that are out there. Support local soccer.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yep, and totally agree with you on that one, obviously. That's why we're doing the show.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, we are going to take a look at how Simon and I did on our fantasy teams, plus... Oh, God, MLS. It just continues to throw us for a loop, and maybe we do need to go to that Croatian party and take a little part of that free beer because this last weekend sent me into a bit of a doozy. I'm curious to see what it did to you, Simon. We'll be right back with more on Sports Radio America right after this. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And I am Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, it is time to talk about Major League Soccer, but also, for those of you that love soccer, don't forget our next segment. We have Canadian International Adriana Leon coming on the program, so tell your friends, get the popcorn. It's a little bit shorter of an interview than we wanted, but it still works out, and she was a very, very nice woman to get a chance to speak with, and she said she wants to come back as well. So, yeah. Spoiler alerts. So,
Spoiler.
But hopefully we're excited. Well, we're excited to have her back on. Hopefully maybe we'll check in with her maybe mid-season or something.
Yeah, of course, we just had a nice conversation here with Alex Toth from the Croatian Eagles.
Yes, indeed.
Talking about their entry into the PLA, the Premier League of America, which has been granted fourth-tier status. So a lot of soccer happening in Milwaukee this summer.
Yes, lots of soccer, as we mentioned, but also lots of soccer happening in Major League Soccer as well. There were 10 games again this weekend, Simon.
Oh, no!
Too many games! But they were not all on the same day, thankfully.
Oh, stop that. Even if they were, it'd be awesome.
Seriously,
love it.
Get over it, people. It's just, yeah. I have a problem with that person, that personality anyway. I just don't like him. But this is not about me.
We haven't even talked about who this personality is.
Maybe we'll get to it one day. Maybe if you go to the Croatians party, you give me enough free beer, I'll tell you who it is. All right, so Friday night, Orlando and Chicago. Orlando, I feel like, is just one of those teams that is going to be a pest in the side of the Eastern Conference all season long.
And by pest, you mean just draw after draw after draw?
Exactly. Like they're gonna. I feel like they're slowly torpedoing our overall records here in our predictions as well, because they're a good team, but they can't finish it off.
Well, what's most interesting too is in this game, Michael Harrington went out with a red card.
Yeah,
former Portland player, by the way. I have a buddy who's a Fire fan, and he texted me one day saying, "Hey, did you hear we picked up Harrington?" And my response was, "I'm sorry to hear that."
Bummer.
Anyways, Harrington goes out in the 32nd minute on a red card, so Orlando had quite a bit of time playing up, and they couldn't seal the deal. And, of course, they went up 1-0 on a Kyle Larin goal, which I'm happy about because I still had him starting in my fantasy league.
Me too.
David Ackham came back 10 minutes later and tied it up.
But talk about speed, Simon. David Ackham cruised up the field for that goal. And I saw the Twitter reaction to it before I actually saw the goal, and that just doesn't do it justice. You actually have to watch the pure speed from David Ackham just fly up the field and just literally just beat everybody. It was just embarrassing, honestly.
It's what a goal is all you can say.
Yeah, exactly. So
what bewildered me, though, in this game is just Orlando City. 65% possession.
Yeah.
13 shots, 5 on goal, and they only get 1 goal out of it. That to me is just...
That worries you.
Almost mind-blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
It does,
that has to worry you, honestly, in terms of... what this team is doing. They're tied for first in the league too with for an aggression as well. They've got 5 yellow cards issued this year already and 1 red card as well. So it's they're obviously a physical, exciting team to watch, but it's not translating over to production on what's most important is scoring goals.
Right. Well, you talk about that aggression. In this game alone, there were 6 yellow cards, 1 red card.
Wow.
Most of those coming from the Fire, though.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it just goes to show what type of chippy game this ended up being.
Exactly. Which I thought it made for good soccer though. Sure. Overall, though, it's fun. It was one of those Eastern Conference bouts that I'm sure we're going to get used to seeing this year. Speaking of Eastern Conference, the Revs and DC United took on each other this weekend as well. I had hoped that after New England's 3 goals that they scored and DC losing 4-1 against LA, that there would be an opportunity for New England to sneak away some crucial points, especially with the home opener. New England fired off 18 shots in this game and could not find the back of the net. Props, though, to the DC United goalie. He stood on his head for most of the game and did a fantastic job, but New England controlled possession. They controlled the shot count. They looked very, very good. I had an opportunity to watch probably about the middle third of the game, and I was very impressed. There were great opportunities, good ball movement off the ball as well, great shots overall, but New England, just, once again, they lack that final finishing touch right now.
Yeah, it's very evident for DC's keeper to come in there and play the game he did. Travis
Because they still
Wara,
don't have Bill Hamid yet.
They do not. And in fact, really, you could say that Travis Wara is a third-string goalkeeper for DC.
Basically,
Dykstra has been filling in for Hamid since he's been gone, but obviously he's not been playing the way Dykstra should be playing.
No, not at all. So it was very very disheartening, obviously, but New England, they get an opportunity to move forward this upcoming week when they play the Philadelphia Union. So that'll be a fun game to talk about later on. One of the games that we need to spend a little bit of time talking about, and I think we need a button for is this team for real or not? And that's the Montreal Impact.
It's no question they're for real.
Are they for real?
Listen, they don't even have Drogba in their lineup. And they are smashing teams left and right.
Do you need Drogba at this point?
That's going to be the question mark. It's one of two things. It's either, do you throw him in there and then mess with the chemistry, or is it that you throw him in there and look how much better this team can still be? By the way, you've been giving Drogba a hard time for not playing on turf.
I know he'll be in this next game. Yes.
No, but it actually is a legitimate health issue. His knee swells up to the point where he can't move his leg, and he was out this week training with the Sacramento Republic.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Yes, we made mention of that last week, and he will play this week against FC Dallas as well. So, suppose at least that's what the team is saying. And just as a quick little thing, you mentioned Montreal. Ignacio Piatti, 3 goals on 6 shots this season. He's contributed to 50% of the team's goals. They've scored 7 goals. I believe it's been this season. They scored. They scored 6. Correction. They scored 3 in the opening, and then they scored 3 against New York. New York is a whole other story. Obviously, they've lost back-to-back games. They've been shut out in both games.
Both
as well.
games, right? Bradley Wright Phillips. I don't know where he is.
I haven't heard of him this year.
But Oduro too. Let's give him credit for the impact. Yep. He's been having a heck of a season as well. But 3-0. For Montreal in this New York Red Bulls game. Yeah, who are the Red Bulls? I think that's the more legitimate question at this point. Was last year just the excitement of having a new coach? And
I just still feel like even with an excitement of having a new coach, it shouldn't have been that exciting, if that makes sense.
Well, and Bradley Wright Phillips, he did have 2 shots on goal, but he's just not finding the back of the net yet. I still feel like he may.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard part. I think post week 5, that's where you can really start.
I'll tell you what, he's going to get a hat trick this next week because he was one of my starting forwards the last 2 weeks on my fantasy team.
And now you're going to bench
transferred him out.
Oh, you did. Yes. That's usually how it goes. I think I did that with Dom Dwyer this week too. After last week, I was like, Dwyer, man, so I transferred him out, brought in Kyle Laren, which was not an awful pick, but Dom Dwyer could have gotten me more points, obviously. So I'm a little mad about that. But according to WhoScored.com, though, where we get a lot of our MLS stats, Ignacio Piatti is the highest rated player in MLS right now with a 9.0 out of 10 player rating out of all active players right now. So through 2 games. So take that for what it is. Fun fact: Ashley Cole's number 5. With an 8.03.
Okay.
Anyway, take that for what it's worth. I thought you'd appreciate that. All right, so moving on from that, I guess we haven't really been saying. So we got all 3. Well, we both got the Orlando and the Revs games wrong. We both called Revs and Orlando on those, and then you picked Montreal. I picked the Red Bulls, so you got 1 point from that. All right. So congratulations. Woo! RSL Seattle. Things continue to go from bad to worse for the Seattle Sounders. They've lost yet again. First time since 2011, they have started 0-2, according to our good friend Chris Blakely over at Vavel USA. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Seattle, honestly. I don't know what to say about RSL. That's why I'm not trying to jump too hard on the bandwagon right now. Yeah, they're moving the ball. Yeah, they're putting the ball in the back of the net, which honestly any team is doing. Not to be that guy, but so is Philadelphia right now.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know how quickly I'm going to jump on the RSL train right now, or how fast people are going to jump off the Sounders train.
Well, yeah, I think the Sounders, that's a tough one. I mean, you lose Obafemi Martins to the Chinese Super League. When he and Dempsey played together, there was real magic happening on the soccer field.
100%.
You take a big guy out like that, and it affects the whole team from the front to the back. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with Seattle. RSL as well. They're actually playing better than it looked like they should be. But Plata has stepped up, got another goal this week. He didn't get a goal, but he got 2 assists this week. But Olav, defender, gets up to the top of the field, and he gets a nice goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it with the Seattle Sounders? We'll have to get Blakely on the phone.
We need to. We got to get him, our resident guy, on the phone. I took RSL in this game, and you took a draw, so I got the point via that.
There you go.
Colorado and LA, we don't need to spend a ton of time. It was a back and forth game until that final little second when Marco Papa just threw a lightning shock through the LA Galaxy.
I just want to say this for me, I know we did terrible, but I felt so proud that I picked Colorado for this game.
And that was the thing. As soon as I found that was the only scoreline this entire weekend where I saw the final, I was like, of course that's who Simon picked. I was a little frustrated. I almost called to you and wanted to be like, of course, hey, did you see? Yeah, Marco Papa. Wow, look at that. Colorado beating the Galaxy.
I believe I even mentioned Marco Papa in my comments.
And I think you did, and I was like, well, we'll see how he's doing
right.
with the injuries and everything, and you were just...
And here's the thing, I'd love to sit here and say, see, I know what I'm talking about, but then I ended up 2-8 this week. So.
Exactly. We both finished 2-8 this week in our predictions, so because we only count if we get the winner correct. We don't, or draw. Like, we have to... We
don't give ourselves a half point for...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, but it was...
This isn't hockey.
It was quite a goal, though, by Cronin at the end there to seal it.
Papa.
Or Papa, I'm sorry. Like Cronin had a big deal to do with
Sam
that.
Cronin. I'm like, what?
Yes, yeah.
Philadelphia Union taking down the Columbus Crew, another team that's finding an identity crisis right now. What's going on with the Philadelphia Union? They're probably not used to being 2-0, although Chris Ponti has put the team literally on his back and scored 2 great goals. I mean, one was a tap-in, the other one was just a clinical one-time finish to the far post, so you can't fault him, Columbus too badly for that. And Kai Kamara stealing a goal back for Columbus at the end. Philadelphia, they lost opening day. Now they've won this game. They tied, I believe. So I think they've got 4 points right now. So Philadelphia, we both took the Crew in this game. I don't know what we can really say. It's still early that I'm not too worried about Columbus.
MLS is tough to predict in the beginning because you've got so many new players come in that it's tough to figure out which team's going to gel well. And then as soon as you figure it out, you get to the summer. All these different transfers come in.
It just is a hot mess.
And then, finally by playoff time, you start to figure out what team should be winning and what team should be losing.
Exactly, yeah. And just as a correction, Philadelphia lost their first game, so I don't want to...
I thought you said that.
I think I corrected it to a tie.
Oh, gotcha.
I thought maybe they tied, but no, they lost opening day, and now they...
As a Timbers fan, I will say, that victory over Columbus on opening day certainly looked awesome, but now you're starting to look at this going, is Columbus really that good of a team this season? Speaking
of who is a good team or not, what the heck is going on at the Houston Dynamo and FC Dallas right now? Because I don't know what to predict. I think Houston is probably Houston is the highest scoring team in the league right now. They've scored 8 goals in 2 games. Guys like Andrew Wenger and Will Bruin are getting accolades in MLS, and I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, Wenger was named Player of the Week.
I don't like that.
What?
I don't.
Because why?
It's weird.
I think it's great.
If his name is not Brian Ching or Brad Davis, I don't care about anybody.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's great. We need to know more players. More players.
I mean, I know who he is, obviously, but it's weird.
Well, yes, yeah.
Ugh.
But, Brian Ching's retired, so he can't get Player of the Week anymore.
Wenger, 2 goals off 7 shots this season. He's accounted for 29% of the team's goals.
And he had 2 assists this last game as well. Listen, I think it was... I'm not sure what happened with FC Dallas. Gonzalez obviously had a bad game, and this comes
It was an awful...
The week in which I say, he's still one of the best keepers in the league. And I still believe that. Every goalkeeper is going to have that nightmare game. This was it for him. Yeah. I'm telling you now, I'm still starting him next week.
I would not. I would... continue to do so. Yes, start him. Words. But they play Montreal this week.
Listen, it is going to show though how when you have a system like MLS where you have these DPs and everybody keeps spending money for the most part on those forwards and midfielders, that's what's going to happen with this league. You're not spending money on those big defenders. You have a few exceptions like Liam Ridgewell, who was injured this week, and we'll talk about how that hurt the Timbers. But that's how the league ends up becoming what it is.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that one. All right. So let's see. Oh, we both took Columbus, by the way, against Philly. So we screwed with that one. You took a draw for Houston. I took FC Dallas. We both didn't get anything out of that one. Sporting Kansas City, we mentioned briefly. Dom Dwyer, 2 stunning goals. Probably just and then this weekend he got another big thing where he found out he will be a father of a boy as well. He and Sidney LaRue Dwyer announcing via a balloon popping that they will be having a boy. So congratulations to the Dwyers as well. Very excited for that. Jurgen Klinsmann has already submitted a claim for a future U.S. men's national team player as well on him. So they're excited about that. But Sporting, as we mentioned, it's still too early. I don't want to jump the ship too much. Vancouver as well, though. What's going on with them? We all thought in the beginning of the season they were going to be a hot team. Only 2 games in. It's hard. This is part of the season I don't like because I have so many thoughts and feelings that my inners are like, oh, react, freak out. And I'm like, We're 2 games in.
We're 2 games in.
Talk to me after 5.
Exactly.
And I'll be much more. I think you can get a good gauge on a team. Once we get to April, we can really start hammering teams out and be like, what the heck's going on?
Right.
You know?
Right.
We both took Vancouver in that game, unfortunately. NYCFC and Toronto, another team like Orlando where all they are is good enough for a draw, basically. But New York is looking good. I understand they gave up those 2 goals.
Yeah, and actually that's what I was going to say. I actually disagree with you. I still don't think they look good. I think they, first of all, one of those goals that New York had shouldn't have stood.
Handball.
Because it was a very obvious handball. Very obvious.
Well, the ref did admit that after the fact.
Okay.
He did. He came out and he said, hey, that was on me. I did miss that call.
Okay, well, good on him for admitting that.
So he did acknowledge that,
refs
yes.
Refs are humans too.
Yeah.
But it was, for me, going back, my point is New York still is not a team that I'm going to put money on.
No.
Toronto, however, I think they still played well. Their defense obviously
They're
had
resilient.
a couple of moments
they
there.
fight hard.
Right, and I'm going back to a couple weeks ago. Opening day, right? FC.
Last week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Sunday, March 6th on my computer all of a sudden.
There you go. Yes, last weekend.
Oh, thank you. Coffee, please? Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, where am I here, Baxter? My thoughts. Yeah, 2-2 draw. I think Toronto was the better team in this game.
It was, and you can obviously make the argument saying you take Sebastian Giovinco out of this. Where are they? So he set up the first goal, and then he scored the second goal.
Right.
It's just what he does.
But, comments like that, too, I get that. Well, if you take Sebastian Giovinco away, then they're not as good of a team. You can say that about any team.
Potentially.
You can say that about any team. And
if Fernando Adi wasn't a part of the Portland Timbers, would they be still the same team?
Of course not. They don't have Adi. But they're going to be stronger. Nevertheless, that's why Toronto has Giovinco there.
Exactly. That's why they spent
he's
the
playing.
money.
He's starting. So it doesn't matter if you have this hypothetical, well, what if you take him away?
Exactly.
That doesn't matter at this point.
Yep. No, I completely agree.
If he gets injured, then we're going to talk about depth.
Exactly. That's where it comes into that aspect of it. So Simon took Toronto. I took New York in this game. We both were wrong, obviously, with the draw. 3 draws this weekend. And then finally, the nightcap, San Jose and Portland. And a very interesting, rainy, messy game that involved what everyone's freaking out about, saying is one of the best goals ever in existence, which it was a very good goal, honestly.
It was. You know what? I like to call that an intelligent goal.
It was a very intelligent goal.
Amarikwa, seeing that Kouarse was off his line, and actually Kouarse wasn't out of position. He was
really
where a goalkeeper should have been. It was just a quick turnover. Amarikwa, but he saw the opportunity and he flicked it over from 40 yards out?
I think so. And then as a goalkeeper, too, to defend Kouarse as well, if you see a guy running at that point in that position, your first thought is like, oh, he's going to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, you can criticize him saying he should have gotten back faster. He should have, like as you mentioned, he wasn't out of position per se. Because we've all seen the goal 100 times on whatever social media platform you watch it on. It's a terrific goal, no bit about that. But at the same time, if you're a goalkeeper, you can't find me a goalkeeper anywhere in this world that would have said, "Oh, I bet you he was going to shoot." Like if that was as soon as you see him steal that ball, your first thought is like, "I should get back faster because he's going to shoot from 40 some yards out." It wasn't in his mind.
No, but another goal scorer in this game, Jack Mack. First game that he plays for Portland in the regular season.
Got a nice little tap in there.
Goal. Yep. As a Portland fan, this was very frustrating because Portland really did dominate this game. I know the possession might not show that, but if you watch the game from beginning to end, this was all Portland Timbers. The Quakes goals came off of the run of play.
Chris Wando had a nice little front post, just Wando
knocked
goal.
It in.
That's
right.
what he does.
Yeah, he was left unmarked basically.
Jurgen Klinsmann should call him up. That's the forwards we need on the national team right there.
Let me complain about the Timbers for a little bit. No, I'm not complaining, but there is some worry there is that the Timbers seem to be in that place where they were last year in that they can't finish. Lucas Milano, this man was paid, or not paid, but rumored to have been a $5 million transfer fee for Milano. And once again, he goes back to playing bar music, hitting the post and hitting the post and hitting the post. He's taken some great shots. I love that he's taking some risky shots. But Portland, if they could just finish, they would be the most dominant team in this league.
I agree. No, I completely agree with you on that one, honestly.
I mean, they had 16 shots to San Jose's 8.
You're preaching to the Revs choir.
Yes, I am. I am.
I understand and feel your pain because, as you mentioned, how do you outshoot a team that badly? I mean, wasn't there a science? It's like every 10 shots, at least, it should be for one goal.
Something like that.
Something like that. I think I remember my high school coach telling me that.
Something positive I do want to say, because we don't give the Quakes enough credit, is David Bingham.
Yeah,
has been playing fantastic, lights out. I mean, he is
hands down.
There's no reason he should not be called up to the national team. If Klinsman's still going with Howard and Guzman as 1 and 2, Bingham needs to be called in. Guzan, sorry. Bingham needs to be number 3.
Agreed.
Which actually I would even argue he's got a shot at being number 1 with the way he's playing right now.
Exactly. I mean, Tim Howard's old, and Brad Guzan is he's decent, but he's not that great.
No, but he also doesn't have a good defense in front of him over at Villa.
That is true. Yeah, they're getting absolutely roasted. I wonder if we see Brad transfer over. You think Tim and Brad both just say peace to the EPL this summer?
I think what you'll see is Brad work his way out of Villa and find himself with another Premier League team. Especially if Villa does drop. There's no way Guzan stays.
No, he's like,
championship
I'm out of
side.
here. All right, real quick before we go to a break, we teased it, MLS Fantasy. Simon beat me 58-57 in total points for this last weekend's round, even though he didn't touch his team. I did make a couple substitutions around. I did go and get Kyle Larin this last week, and I also got Will Trapp as well. I captained Kyle Larin. He got me 16 points, which was fantastic, so double the points.
I didn't know about this captain thing until after this week.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you get bonus points?
You sound like such an old guy.
I never. Do you get bonus points when you captain?
You get double points if whoever you captain, yes.
See, I would have captained Giovinco both weeks. It would have been...
That'd have been beautiful.
I would have been destroying you, Baxter.
You would have. We're in a 5-man league. I think people can still join our league, can't they?
Sure.
If you're still interested in joining our league, you can shoot us an email to upfrontsoccer@gmail.com or tweet at us at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan, at 2upfrontsoccer, and we will give you the code, and you can join us. It's one of Simon's friends that started the league, but there's only a couple of us, and we're just all MLS fun lovers and just having a good time, and plus Simon can continue to defy the odds. So I'm a little upset. I'm trying to figure out when the heck Poku's going to play for NYCFC because he's one of the midfielders on my team, but the last 2 weeks he's been subbed out. They automatically sub out players for you on MLS Soccer if they don't play, if they're in your starting lineup. So Brad Davis was my first man up in that regards, and he only got me 1 point because he only played 14 minutes. But Bobby Shuttleworth got me 8 for his great performance against DC United. Christiani got me 7. I already made my transfers for this upcoming week as well. I don't know if you know this, Simon. You get 2 free transfers a week as well.
Well, this week was 3.
Oh, did you only do 1 transfer last week?
I didn't do any.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I think it's kind of like rollover minutes.
Okay.
I think you get one. I think you get like 1 or 2, like sometimes added on. So I went out and got Diego Fagundes this week and Dominic Arduro for my team. Pushed out Brad Davis. And
I'm so mad that I didn't know about the captain thing. I'm just sitting here sulking right now.
So I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to captain this week. Right now it's sitting on Kyle Larin's arm, but I don't know if I'm going to go that route. I might go. They say that captaining a goalkeeper is your best option if you know it's a good game, but as we've seen from the first 2 weeks, heck if we know at this point, honestly.
I say if you got Giovinco on your team,
exactly,
you make him your captain.
Oh, you captain guys like Giovinco. You captain guys that are going to have the ball at their feet 80% of the game, regardless if they score or not. They're going to still do things. Unlike
you, I actually, I had teased, I got rid of Bradley Wright Phillips, and this is so if you know anything about fantasy, you want to pick Bradley Wright Phillips up because he's going to have a monster game.
Probably.
And I actually brought in Dom Dwyer.
Okay, good. That's good. I need to get to the point, too, where I can switch out Josh Saunders as one of my 2 goalies. I don't know why he's one of my goalies. I needed a cheaper goalie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm biased towards Bobby Shuttleworth. I am a little bit.
Are,
but at the same time, I just know that he's a very good goalkeeper, and he's going to also see a lot of shots, which is a bit of a risk-reward because you get points for every save, but at the same time, you don't for every goal.
You know who's been one of my top point earners this season is Clarence Goodson.
Hey, I've got him too.
Yeah, for the San Jose
He's done a very good job this season. He has gotten 14 points in the last 2 games, so good for him. Robbie Rogers is one of my defenders as well. I mean, I know the Galaxy have only played... they've played 2 games this year so far. He's only gotten me 5, but I do enjoy having him on the team. So I need to figure out what I want to do going forward in that regard. So if you have MLS fantasy questions, we don't pretend to know everything, but we're obviously willing to listen and try to help you out if you want to. And if you do want to be a part of our fantasy league, let us know. Email us at 2upfrontsoccer@gmail.com. or you can tweet at us at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan, at 2UpFrontSoccer.
That is it, and what was I going to tell you? Oh, Harry Shipp, by the way, is one of my midfielders. I wanted you to feel good about that.
You.
There's some team in this.
I haven't, and I was wondering if you were going to make fun of me because I don't have Harry Shipp on my team right now. But I'm playing the Sebastian Letou thing right now with Philly because he's one of the only guys that actually does something for them. But at the same time, he hasn't done much the last couple of weeks. He's only gotten me 2 points over the last 2 weeks. So I don't know. He might be on his way out this next week. Dylan Powers, Will Trapp. I've got a very young, talented midfield aside from Letou, but I don't know. It's the great part about fantasy is that you get 2 free transfers every week.
You do.
Play the bank.
You do, and you can captain somebody.
Yeah.
for double points.
Don't forget to do that this week, Simon. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back on the other side, Canadian international and NWSL veteran Adriana Leon joins us to chat a little bit about the upcoming season. You're not going to want to miss the interview. Back right after this on 2 Up Front. All right, well, we are having a distinct opportunity to speak with a acclaimed women's soccer player here today, Simon, on 2 Up Front. Adriana Leon joins us all the way from the great state of New York, and she is here now to chat with us. She is a Canadian international, and she is now the newest addition to Western New York Flash of the NWSL as well. Adriana, welcome to 2 Up Front, and thank you for taking some time today with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. We are excited to have you on the show, and as Simon mentioned to you probably a little bit off the air, we are trying to build our identity here about the NWSL and so many other exciting things going around women's soccer, and you're a bit of a veteran of the NWSL also, and I'm curious if you can explain a little bit about how the league has kind of changed since you've been around.
Yeah, I don't know if I think of myself as a veteran. I'm only 23, but I did jump into the league when I was 20. I left the University of Florida early to play in the league, so I definitely can say I've witnessed the growth in the last 3 years. Now we're seeing women come over from overseas and leaving their teams there to play here, and that's great. And even girls coming out of college are wanting to play right after they graduate. So, yes, definitely the league is growing, and I think it's becoming more competitive for sure.
You speak about competitive nature as well. I don't know if you've heard the news or not, but the Portland Thorns actually just signed one of France's best players today as well, Henry. And you talk about bringing high-quality players over. That's, I think, another case in point right there of having another, what we would call an elite player, basically, coming over now to the NWSL.
Yeah, it's great for the league, and I don't think I'm wrong when I'm saying the NWSL is the most competitive women's league in the world.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Well, you speak about competitiveness as well. As you mentioned, you don't necessarily consider yourself a veteran, but you've been around the league long enough, though, to know how the ropes are going and everything. But you spent your first few seasons in the Chicago area as part of the Red Stars and a part of that team that finished second in the league last year, and really I think kind of took some people by surprise last year as well, at least for those that maybe weren't following the Chicago soccer scene so much. But now you find yourself in New York, and a little bit of a different scenery for you. How did you feel when you found out that you would not be in Chicago for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I found out last November, and if I'm being honest, I was the one who initiated the trade for personal reasons.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a time for a fresh start, and I couldn't be more excited for this coming season with the Flash.
Awesome. Well, of course, we're talking with Adriana Leon here on Two Up Front Soccer. You've spent time in the NWSL, but we can't overlook what I'm assuming for you is one of the greatest honors you've had in your life, and that's playing for Canada in the World Cup in Canada on top of that. So I'm wondering if you can speak about that experience a bit.
Yeah, this past summer was an amazing experience. I always think about the game against the Netherlands, playing in Montreal and, lining up for the starting 11 and hearing the FIFA anthem, walking out, I hear the crowds going nuts, and then our anthem comes on and the arena just lights up, and there's nothing like singing your national anthem with the rest of your country and seeing the sea of red and white, Canadian flags out in the crowd. It was just amazing, and it's just an experience I'll never forget.
And something like that, too, being a part of the World Cup, and we've heard from other World Cup veterans, whether it be men or female, honestly, it's like you mentioned, though, it's that anytime you get a chance to play basically a home game, I mean, I know it was a World Cup tournament, but it was a home game for you guys, basically, in front of your home nation. I mean, that really is a feeling that you can never, take back, and especially the whole fact when the entire stadium singing the national anthem alongside you as well. So it really seems like a special moment. And I know the tournament didn't maybe go as well as you guys had hoped it would. Obviously, an early exit, then I think a lot of you, they're experts and just followers of the sport as well. I understand you guys ended up losing 2-1 in that knockout round game, but can you kind of maybe shed a little bit more light on what kind of either A, went wrong, or B, just wasn't working for you guys towards the end there?
Yeah, the game against England, we made a lot of silly mistakes from the start of the game and all the way through to the end. And, the difference was we just couldn't find a way to score. And, I don't know, I think there's tons of things I would have done differently, and I'm sure a lot of my teammates feel the same, but you win some, you lose some. That's the sport.
Do you think because it was in your home nation, it hurt a little bit more, or just? I mean, obviously losing any World Cup game, especially in a knockout round, hurts. But I think being in front of the home fans maybe played a little bit extra in that at all.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely felt it, and I think because we were at home, the fans felt it too. Maybe more so than we did. So yeah, we definitely did.
And yet, at the same time, the positive that comes out of it for anybody who's a fan of women's soccer is how the international game has improved. 10 years ago, England was not a team that was really a threat.
No, not at all.
And now you look at them; they're one of the top, very much in the top 10, arguably in the top 5 in the world. And you're going to be facing possibly other teams this summer. Do you any word on? Canada's heading to the Olympics, which is awesome. Any word on your spot on that roster?
To be honest, I really have no idea what's going on with Canada at the moment. I'm just focused on getting the job done here in Western New York and bringing home an NWSL championship. So, the rest is out of my control.
And that's all you can do. Yeah, you're filling some fairly big boots there as well for Western New York. Folks here, at least in the United States, will remember a gal by the name of Abby Wambach played for the team 2 seasons ago, and last season, obviously, she was off and then focused on the World Cup, and now you step in as one of the more notable names on the roster. Even though, as you said, you don't consider yourself a veteran of the league, but in a sense you still are, because you're a fairly recognizable name across all spectrums, at least in the United States and Canada. So are you going to try to take a little bit of an extra leadership role on the team this year, or are there other ladies that you think will step up and use their experience that are maybe a couple of years older than you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some amazing players that have played for the Flash, like Alex Morgan, Christine Sinclair, Marta, Abby Wambach, like you said. And there are definitely some big shoes to fill. And I think, going into this season, I'm going to be the best leader I can be. And I'm sure all the other girls feel the same. So we'll do our best.
Adriana, before we went on air, you and I had a quick conversation about how you were a two-sport athlete. I know you got to get going here. There was hockey, there was soccer. You played both. You were great at both. Why soccer?
I think at the time, I made this decision when I was a senior in high school. And at the time, there was just more opportunity for women's soccer. And, I don't think I went wrong with my decision.
Not at all.
I'm happy where I'm at. But it's great also to see now that women's hockey is growing, and it's tremendously grown in the last couple of years. So that's amazing.
Well, fantastic. Well, Adriana, it has been a pleasure to speak with you today. Sorry a little bit about the technical issues on our end to begin, but we are excited that we at least got a couple minutes of your time, and we hope that maybe
that's okay.
we hope maybe mid-season or something or later on we can have you back on for a little bit more in-depth and just kind of check in and see how things are going with you.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to have a catch-up.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Adriana Leon here on 2 Up Front this afternoon. We are going to take a break and come back and continue to chat about Major League Soccer, and I think Simon and I have some predictions as well for this upcoming weekend. You're listening to 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go... Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
What a fantastic interview. Adriana taking some time out of her busy schedule. The NWSL preseason kicking off as we speak. And just a fantastic... She just seems like a nice lady.
Very nice. And, for those of you who don't know, right after she got off the phone, she had to go off to training, which was in 5 minutes. So how awesome of her to take time out of her day right before she hits the field to do some... talking about women's soccer, and what a great way for us to have our women's soccer spotlight of the week with a Canadian national team player, a starter for the Western New York Flash, and expecting big things from her this year. The team
exactly. I feel like Simon that we should. I feel like we can tease a few people about some upcoming interviews that we have if we want to.
Sure.
Do you want to? Well, we do have, I believe next week on the program, we'll have Washington Spirit head coach Jim Gabbra on the program. We are chatting with him later today, actually, and then we will have him on the show next weekend from the interview that we're recording, and a couple other things going on as well. We've had a Wisconsin tie as well coming up in a couple of weeks. Kyle Gregg from the Vancouver Whitecaps 2 will be on as well, and couple others swirling around. Chris Blakely, I'm sure we'll try to find a way to get him on the program. Not that we don't love Chris, we do love Chris, so we gotta get him on.
But this is a wonderful problem to have, isn't it? As
there's
we're growing,
too many interviews.
As we're growing, we're getting these NWSL teams. Having their players on the air, coach on the air. We're getting some MLS players on the air, USL players on the air. And it's a good problem to have. So thank you to all of you for helping the growth of this show.
Yes, yep, absolutely. So we've got some other exciting players and interviews coming up, but we want to wait until we've got those official confirmation emails in our hands before we start teasing. But we know for a fact, though, that next week on Wednesday when we do our show, that Washington Spirit head coach Jim Gabbra will be one of our two guests.
Yeah, and actually we can talk about the other guests too. We'll have another show that's local and national flavor to it. Our first guest next week will be Allison Phillips from Edge Sports. She'll be talking about a futsal announcement that she has. Allison is very excited to come back on the show. We haven't had her on in actually quite a few months, so we're excited to have her back.
We were in our other studio last time. I was still in college last time.
That's right,
Allison,
you were.
So not to make it sound like old or anything, but it's been a little bit since we've had her on. So we're excited to get her back on the program and see what new announcements she has for us as well. And of course, Power Rankings 50-50, all those wonderful things all coming up. And then there's some mullings about April interviews as well we've got going on. So like I said, we're very fortunate and blessed right now to have some great people willing to come on the program like Adriana and now Jim Gabra and Allison Phillips, Andy Davi as well. So
right, Alex Toth today from the Croatian Eagles. Of course, we had Peter Wilt on earlier. Well, we could keep going down the list, but what you can do, if you want to hear any of these interviews in and of themselves, head over to our webpage, 2upfrontsoccer.wix.com/2upfrontsoccer. Pretty soon, I can also tease about this, pretty soon that will have a proper site name.
Yes, it will.
But you can, that's what it is for now.
Unless you like all those slashes and dots and stuff, then we'll leave it.
You like
that's
to
totally
type,
fine.
that's cool. But go over to the interviews link, click on there, and the interviews from our past shows, starting with our relaunch, so that was back in February, so last month, back in February 2016. Baxter's done a cool thing where he's extracted interviews from the shows. I've gone and posted them.
You actually got the word right this first time.
I did, that's right.
Last week we were figuring out whatever the heck word we were looking for.
But I went ahead and posted those then on our website.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we've had an opportunity to speak with some fantastic people since the relaunch, and we want to share their stories with you. So like Simon mentioned, check out our website, 2upfrontsoccer.wix.com/2upfrontsoccer, and go into the interviews tab and check it out. And check out the links, though, too, as well. We've got some great people that have been a part of the show, and we want to reciprocate what they've done for us as well, too. So go check out all the great things that people have done as well, and go check out the things that they've got as well.
Right. That is under, like Baxter said, that's under our links page. So every name you see there, the arrow becomes a hand. You can click on there. If you ever, by the way, if you ever come across one of those links and it's broken, feel free to let me know. Sometimes they just kind of disappear on us. And
shoot us an email.
Go back and fix them. Yeah. Of course, we don't rank our guests, but we do have our MLS power rankings.
We do. We could rank our guests, but we might not get some of those guests back if we were. We might cause a bit of controversy.
Right.
I feel like guys like Peter Wilt, though, and Rob Stone would have fun with that.
Right.
They'd be like,
those two
really?
might even duke it out with each other.
That's where you think I'm rated. Okay, I see how it is. You're like, no. We promise you're a nice person. We don't want to cause any problems.
Right.
All right, so our power rankings, our first edition, our week going into week 3 MLS power rankings this week. Simon and I are going to continue going on with what we finished our last season with, both offering our top 5, because we realized the top 10 joint was too much of a controversy, and we don't want to do that.
Right.
So, and this adds for better discussion as well.
This does.
So, all right, well, we'll start at number 5 for both squads. Who do you have, sir?
I have Toronto FC in my number 5 spot.
What? No, that's fine. Toronto FC at number 5 for you. I have NYCFC.
Yeah,
so they both drew. So the Baby Blues.
The Baby Blues, yes.
You've referred to them now.
So you've got the Baby Blues and I've got the Reds.
Yes.
Number 5.
Number 4, we share the same. Sporting Kansas City for both. Dom Dwyer rocketing his team, I believe, into 4th place for both of our power rankings, and I think we're both sitting at that on the edge of they're good, but we don't want to jump yet.
Right.
We're just staring down at the games, going, "Oh, okay, they're doing good things," but I'm not quite ready to join the party.
Same thing with our number 3, I would say.
I would agree.
San Jose Earthquakes. We both have them at number 3 as well.
Biggest anti-Earthquake fan last year. Hated them, but this year I'm at least interested.
I will say, the argument I made for them last year is finally coming to fruition this year. I was just a year off.
Hey, you were a man before your time. Something like that.
Right.
I don't know.
We do flip-flop our number 1 and our number 2.
We do.
Who do you have at number 2?
I have the Houston Dynamo at number 2.
Which, of course, I then have at number 1. I've got Montreal Impact at number 2.
Who, of course, is my number 1. Now, it's interesting when you look at the top 5 power rankings. 4 out of the 5 teams are the same for both of our rankings, NYC and Toronto. And I don't know about you, Simon. I struggled with number 5 because, as we mentioned, we're still a little too early in the year that, who do we want to put in? Who's doing better? Do I feel like one team is holier than thou? I toyed with Philadelphia, and then I slapped myself. I toyed I toyed with RSL. I toyed with the Galaxy. Once again, slapped myself a couple times with those because I wasn't sure how I felt about RSL.
Yeah, the thing I'll say about the Galaxy, And even Portland at this point, though, I do think Portland is better than they played against San Jose. I really do. I think it was the away game. It's not a shame to lose 2-1 on the road, but they also have that extra target on their backs, being the MLS Cup champions, and they're the champions until it's taken away from them, as Chris Blakely likes to say. We've been invoking his name a lot this show.
I feel like if we say his name enough times, he will just appear in the chair in front of us. I hope that's true. I would love to see Chris.
But with the Galaxy as well, it would be one thing if they perhaps lost to a Sporting Kansas City, if they had lost to a Toronto FC. But no, they lost to the Colorado Rapids, who, yes, I have as my surprise playoff team, and I still hold to that.
Because they beat the Galaxy this week. You're like, I was not wrong.
Well, and again, one of the things I said is that the Rapids can be a thorn in the Galaxy side, and we saw that in that game.
Yes.
So, kind of arguing with myself here of whether Galaxy maybe should be in my top 5, but I still go with no. I still see Toronto as a stronger team, even though they did have a draw against New York.
No.
But I still think that was a game that New York really did win.
Yes. I agree. So I'm curious, and I had this thought the other day, and I wanted to make this in a whole segment, but I just want to make a quick little blurb about it. Who's the one team, at least, that you've seen so far in MLS that if me as a Revs fan, you as a Timbers fan, if they lost to, you'd be like, how in the world do you lose to blank?
So you're basically asking two teams, right?
Yes, if there's two teams.
What I'm saying is you're asking me...
If you as a supporter, because let's be honest, both of our teams that we support are good teams. They're not. The Revs are not elite, but Portland is also, I would say, on a better level than New England as well. But I feel like those teams that have already emerged in MLS this year that were like, if your team were to lose at any time throughout the season, regardless of how good they or bad they were, based off the players they have, the coaches, etc., where you'd be like, really? Really? You lost to that team?
That's an easy pick for me.
Is it? Okay.
That team would be DC United.
Yes. Philadelphia and DC United were the first two teams that came to my mind. Chicago also snuck in as well. I feel like the Eastern Conference, they've got such a long way to go still. Even the bad teams in the Western Conference. Look at the non-playoff teams right now. Colorado, FC Dallas, Vancouver, Seattle. If New England were to go out and play any one of those 3 out of those 4 teams aside from Colorado and lose, I would be like, well, sure. That's FC Dallas. Well, sure, it's Vancouver. Well, sure, it's Seattle.
And it's the same thing every year. Part of it is that you got New York City and Orlando City still in the East, and they're still very young teams. Granted, they're better than some of the more established teams, but it just goes to show how weak the East still is.
Exactly, yeah. And I had that thought, though. And I don't know if I just despise Philadelphia for all they're worth. I don't like Philadelphia. I just never have. I probably never will. It's just something about Dupe Nation that I've never liked. And I
have a personal story about the Philadelphia Union, which I won't get into, but you will never, ever see me cheer for the Union. That may be the one team that in CONCACAF Champions League play, I still may not cheer for.
Wow. Yeah, no, I can't. I can't. Maybe it's because there were some people that I used to work with that were Philadelphia Union fans, and they were just really annoying, and I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. Maybe that just was what tainted it for me, but I had that thought. DC United, they're so old. They're so not pleasant to watch, and they just are such a hot mess. And you mentioned too, how does Ben Olsen still have a job right now?
It's a shame for such a historic club in MLS. If there is one team with a lot of history in MLS, it's DC United.
Sure,
tons of trophies. Now, granted, they were winning trophies when there were only 10 or 12 teams in the league,
but
nevertheless,
Moreno and Aliko Escuderian were running up and down
Marco
the field.
Echeverri. But they also have the Intercontinental Cup. They beat Vasco da Gama in 1998.
I thought he came to Florida in the 1800s or something.
But the point is that they're back in the early or late 90s, back in the early days of the league. They were one of the best teams on this side of the Atlantic.
You did not want to play DC United,
so to see what that club has become now. It's really a shame.
It is. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was curious, because even looking at the bottom 2 in the East, if New England were to lose to Columbus or were to lose to the Red Bulls, I'd be like, well, sure, it's Columbus, it's the Red Bulls. New England, in my mind, is not on the same level as those teams. They're a good team, but they're not a great team. Similar, I'm sure, to how Portland. If you were to go out and lose to FC Dallas, Vancouver, or Seattle, within reason, you'd be like, well, sure, on paper, they're a good team. They just have had kind of crap luck, unfortunately, the last couple of games.
Sure.
So I just was curious. I was curious about what your thoughts were.
I'm assuming DC United is your answer to that then?
Philly and DC.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about that this last weekend when New England played DC, and I'm like, well, if we lose to DC, how is it going to affect me? I would rather lose to DC United than Philadelphia. I just, for some reason, Philadelphia, if you lose to Philadelphia, even the Chicago Fire, I would choose losing to the Chicago Fire, even though they're probably the worst team in the league right now, honestly. Losing to Philadelphia, for me, I would be like, why? Chris Pontius is literally the only thing on that team right now.
Sure.
So anyway,
yes.
Anyway, but I digress. So we have a 50-50 segment right now, Simon, which is fantastic, and I'm excited for that. So we each get 45 seconds to take on a topic in the soccer world that we want to debate a little bit about. And we have decided to use our power rankings this week as our pedestal for our 50-50 segment.
Perfect.
We are debating on who we each have as our number ones and who we have as our number fives. I have NYCFC at number 5. You have Toronto. I have Montreal at 1. You have Houston at 1. So we're going to each get 45 seconds to defend our position of why we have them where we have them.
All right. You want to go first?
That's fine. I can go first if you'd like me to.
All right. Baxter, 45 seconds. Go.
Thank you. All right. So for the Montreal Impact, I'll start with them at number 1. They've come out and beat 2 very good teams to start off the season. They've scored 6 goals in 2 games. Ignacio Piatti, in my mind, is the best player in MLS through the first 2 weeks. He's scored 50% of the team's goals, and he looks like the real deal. If there was an early season MVP award through the first 2 weeks, he would be my man. Montreal, they have continued to prove that they don't need a guy like Didier Drogba on their team to be number 1. Houston, they've conceded more goals than Montreal has in that regards. On the other side for NYCFC, they continue to surprise. They've looked like a fairly good team. Andrea Pirlo, David Villa, the right guys are scoring goals, and Diskerud and Tommy McNamara are holding down the midfield and proving that they too can step up and score goals when it's needed.
Well done, Baxter. I don't know if I can make as strong of an argument, but I'm certainly going to give it a shot here.
Please do. 45 seconds for you.
And here we go.
All right.
Well, Toronto FC, they're, I think, still one of the strongest teams in the league. I think New York City FC, yeah, they got Vieira there now who's doing some good things with them. But that win they had against Toronto, I still will say was not a legitimate win. And they're playing very consistently, Toronto that is, playing very strong, that they deserve to be higher up. I have more belief in Toronto than I have in NYCFC, than I do in the Baby Blues. Now, on the other side, listen, a team goes out and destroys their arch rival 5-0 in the West, obviously the stronger conference. FC Dallas has an incredibly strong lineup. Yes, they're sitting in 3rd in the West, but I think they showed this week that they are the strongest team in the West.
Nicely done. Look at that. We both did a good job of keeping our time this week. Yeah, it's interesting because the West obviously is an entirely different level than the Eastern Conference is. It has been for a while, and it will continue to be until the East decides to start spending money.
And, you know, when it comes to rankings for me, the only way that I'm like FIFA is that I'm going to give more of the benefit of the doubt to the teams in the Western Conference.
Oh, I will too.
Than I do in the teams in the Eastern Conference. Like with, you know, you get more points in the FIFA rankings by beating a European team than a CONCACAF
No,
team.
I completely agree. I mean, looking at my rankings, 3 out of my 5 teams in my rankings are Western Conference teams.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
For you, 4...
Same deal.
Same deal. Yeah, same deal. So it's still early. That's the hard part about doing power rankings early on in the season. Let us know your thoughts about who your top 5 right now is in Major League Soccer. You can send us an email at twoupfrontsoccer@gmail.com. You can visit our website as well and fill out the little contact us form and send it to us that way as well. We get an email from you. Or you can tell us on Facebook and Twitter as well. 2UpFrontSoccer on Facebook and at 2UpFrontSoccer on Twitter as well. All right, break time?
Break time. We'll come back and do our I Believes and close out the show.
Absolutely, and some predictions for this upcoming week
That's right,
as well.
Of course, predictions.
Can't forget the predictions. We got to do better than 2-8 this week, hopefully. All right, we'll be back with more on 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America, right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
I'm Simon Provan.
Closing out the show today, Simon, with some predictions for this upcoming week of MLS action, and we'll get to our I Believe segment a wee bit later on. We've had a fantastic show so far. We've chatted with the Croatian Eagles men's soccer director, basically.
Yes, director of men's soccer.
Director of men's soccer, Alex Toth, a little earlier on in the program, and then we chatted with Canadian International and NWSL. I guess you could call her a star. She's a fairly well-known lady.
Yes.
Adriana Leon as well, not to take anything from her. I'm not exactly sure what accolade to give her because she's got so many. I wasn't trying to demote her. I was like, how many things should I say about her? Because she's a sweet lady and just a dime in this continuous growth of women's soccer as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So, all right, prediction time, Simon. 10 games again this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna be bored with me this week, Baxter. I'm just giving you a heads up. Lots of draws this week. Lots of draws.
Don't forget to captain one of these teams as well. You get double points with them. Orlando and NYC FC, the expansion cup.
I like that.
They should have a cup game. It'd be fun. What do you got?
I've got a draw.
You do.
Yeah.
Orlando hosts though.
Yeah.
Even with the fact that they've been doing well, Kyle Larin.
They've not been doing well. They had to come back in the 94th and 95th minute to tie it up.
Irrelevant.
What are their first two games? How did they do?
They've drawn both.
Oh, that's right.
But they haven't lost.
Right, and I'm not picking a loss
Same
for them.
with
I'm picking a draw.
Okay. I like it. Consistency. I've got Orlando. They're home. I think that they're going to step up a wee bit more. And for those of you at home that are like, but an NYC is in your power. Shh, stop. Don't worry about what I said 10 minutes ago, okay? I can change my mind. Chicago and Columbus this week. Chicago hosting the Columbus Crew, a little banged up. Who's going to emerge?
This is a tough one. This is probably one that I should choose a draw, but it's in Chicago. Columbus, not sure what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, I should pick a draw, but I'm actually going to take Chicago on this one.
How interesting. Okay. I am going to go with the fact that I think Kai Kamara is going to have a come-to-Jesus moment with his team this week and be like, you know what? I'm a little sick and tired of where we're at, and I think they can definitely beat this Chicago team, so I've got Columbus winning.
I kind of feel the same about the next game, the Red Bulls in Houston. I almost feel like this is the game that Bradley Wright Phillips has his, as you said, come-to-Jesus moment, but I'm still going with Houston. They're looking too strong. I can't take them in number one in my power rankings and then choose them to lose, right?
I understand that. Yeah, that's I'm going to be saying a couple extra rosaries this weekend that Bradley Wright Phillips does have that come to Jesus moment. So I've got the Red Bulls winning because I think they are sick and tired of being poor.
That has the potential to be a fantastic game.
It does. This could be unfortunately like a 0-0 game where hundreds of shots, or this could be a 5-4 thriller.
Right.
Where both of these teams are like, well, shoot, we can score goals. Let's get after it. FC Dallas Montreal. The beatdown.
Yes,
the Dynamo
which is why I'm
Dallas.
Picking Dallas in this one.
And it's a home Dallas game as well. Okay.
If Dallas doesn't win this game, they're in trouble. I mean, they're playing against a strong team, but if they lose this game, especially as badly as they did against Houston, Dallas is in trouble.
Well, similar to what you said about your number one team for Houston, I am going on the same aspect of it with Montreal. They get Drogba for this game as well. You mix that in with what they're already doing. I think it'll have a positive effect, not who's the new guy to the lineup effect, because he's been training with the team a little bit, and he played with them last season, so he's got good chemistry. And I think it might be a little shaky in the beginning. Maybe they'll concede an early goal to FC Dallas, but I think Montreal ultimately pulls out the victory in this game. Seattle and Vancouver, Cascadia! It is time for the Cascadia Copa.
Yeah, neither of these teams are playing really well. And
Vancouver traded away Darian Maddox to the Portland Timbers.
Well, yes, so that is very true.
Without another
we could spend a whole segment on that.
I'm curious. Can you give us a 30-second version of your thoughts?
Well, here's the deal, is Maddox has really been known to be a bad locker room presence up there in Vancouver. Portland fans are a little tentatively excited because Porter coached him in college, so he's another Akron Zip, and things seem to go well when Porter brings in more Zips.
Yeah, he's got that chemistry with Darlington Nagbe as well.
But he doesn't have a starting place on this team right now. I
would assume not, especially with Jack Mack scoring this last weekend.
But Jack Mack will continue to be a sub.
True.
What he may... I wouldn't be surprised if Porter takes Asprilla out of the lineup and puts Maddox in up front
for a little bit
because
speed.
Asprilla is fast too, but Asprilla is one of those guys that is great as being a super sub. So I could see Porter wanting to revert back to that.
Yeah. So they've got the depth aspect of their team taken care of, at least to the forward.
They do,
right? Side of it.
Well, I think all around, because Asprilla can play in midfield. He can also play up top.
Yes.
But yeah, we will see. There's a lot of wild cards in that one.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I've got Seattle taking this game. I think that Ziggy Schmidt and company, Clint Dempsey, Jordan Morris, there's a lot of good players on this team that they've come just close, but they haven't been able to fully close out a game. Another home opportunity against a Cascadia Cup game. I think they're going to rise to the occasion.
Well, I would like to... No, I wouldn't like to think that. I wouldn't like to think what you said, but Vancouver hasn't been doing well, but they've been scoring a couple of goals.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm going with the draw on this one.
Okay, another draw for Simon. The Galaxy and San Jose.
The California Classico.
This is a big game.
This is a big game.
Where's Alan Gordon? That's my first question. Somebody find Alan Gordon, and then if I know for a fact he's going to play, I almost can bank on LA winning. We'll see.
Well, you got Mike McGee there now, though.
Exactly.
So
acting in that role. Who do you need? Honestly, I've got LA winning this game, though.
San Jose is... they're not playing great. They've been winning their games. They haven't been playing great, though. Right, but I'm saying even that Portland-San Jose game, that wasn't even back and forth. It was Portland, San Jose. Portland, San Jose.
Makes sense.
But Galaxy haven't been playing lights out. Their first game, yes. Second game, no. I'm going with the draw.
Okay, fair enough. Portland RSL. RSL, the surprise team right now.
A little bit of a surprise.
Within reason.
Yeah, right, but I'm going with Portland.
Okay, I have Portland winning this game as well. So we've got one game that we both agree on this week. New England and Philadelphia. New England has owned the last 3 games against Philadelphia, and they've also won the last 3 games at Philadelphia as well. So they've got history on their side.
They do.
They've come off a barrage, a firing squad, basically, of shots offensively. Philadelphia, I know Andre Blake kind of stood on his head this last week against Columbus, which worries me a little bit, but New England, they continue to make good steps forward, and I think that this week, again, they're going to see the emergence of Fagundes and Lee Win and Charlie Davies as well, maybe some Juan Agudelo action, and I like what they're doing. I think they're going to get a victory this week.
I'm going with Philadelphia.
Why? I'm curious why.
I liked what they did in the last game against Columbus. I actually thought they looked well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chris Pontius, 2 goals off 2 shots.
And goalkeeper again, sorry, you alluded me.
Andre Blake.
Yeah, Blake, as he said, he played lights out as well. I think that you counter that with win and everything.
Sure.
Yeah, it's looking to me more like a Philadelphia win. Now, keep in mind, I'm not cheering for Philly.
No, of course not.
But I'm picking them to win this game.
Okay. No, I can understand that. All right, last 2 games here, DC United and Colorado, and then Sporting Kansas City and Toronto. Who do you have in that first game?
I've got Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I have, too.
And then I've got TFC.
And I have SKC.
That'll be... first when I saw that game, I thought, I don't know if that's going to be a boring game or an exciting game. I think it has the potential more than anything to be the exciting game
that
of the
second
week.
Game, that SKC?
Yeah,
yes, I would agree with you. That primetime game, I'm sure Taylor Twellman and all those folks will be there.
Yeah, in fact, my plan is to take a nap during the DC-Colorado game, wake up in time for the Toronto Sporting KC.
Exactly. I'm going to try to catch... New England Philly this weekend, see if I can make something happen there. All right, it is time for our favorite segment of the show. Simon and I are going to be offering our I Believe segments about the upcoming week of action of soccer or anything we really want to. So, Simon, the floor is yours.
I believe that America scored the goal of the year this last week.
You think they're already calling it,
yep.
Huh? Okay. And I believe that the Revolution are going to surprise some people and go on a 4-game winning streak. Why not?
Bold. I like it.
Bold, beautiful. We love it. Thank you, everybody. We love all of you.
Hey, exciting announcement next week about a partnership that we'll have officially landed in just a few days here.
Yep. We're excited about that. Upcoming interviews this next weekend. Allison Phillips from Edge Sports and Washington Spirits head coach Jim Gabbera will be here for our women's soccer spotlight as well. Thank you so much to Alex Toth from the Croatian Eagles and Western New York Flash and Canadian Internationals. Adriana Leon joining us as well on the program. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can find us on now Thursdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on sportsradioamerica.com and on TuneIn, and then on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com.
And of course, we always have our social media sites, 2 Up Front on Facebook, at 2 Up Front Soccer on Twitter. He is at Baxter Colburn. I'm at Simon. I always say that wrong.
Colburn.
Baxter Colburn. At Simon Provan. Plus, we have our webpage, 2upfrontsoccer.wix.com /2upfrontsoccer.
Yes, indeed. All right, he's Simon Provan. I'm Baxter Colburn. We'll see you all next week with our manager being the one above. We are 2 Up Front.